beautiful one. So how's about we have a bat of love? For Ranma-chan, there was only one response. Wham! Bash! Crunch! Jeanette, IA and Sam arrived on the scene to see a very bruised and broken Brock in a tangled heap on the ground. Standing over him in a huff was a very irritated martial artist and Pokemon trainer. Beside her, Raiden and Sea-Storm had very large sweat drops on the backs of their heads. This had been the first time their master had been hit on. Of course, Ranma tended to hit back. We haven't seen you since Ash won that soul badge, Misty remarked as they were all sitting near the river and eating lunch. Yes, it's been a while. IA agreed. So you're all heading toward the Johto League as well? That's right. I just won a badge from the Goldenrod Gym. Ash replied, then turned to Jeanette. I guess that you're also heading there. After the way you battled at the Indigo Plateau, I'll bet that you'll do great in this league too. The daughter of the gym leader of Crimson City took a sip of tea. Actually, I hadn't planned on entering the Johto League when I joined up with Ranma here, but when she decided to compete, then I thought that it would be a good idea. Sam and IA immediately tensed up and Jeanette suddenly stiffened when she realized her mistake. Raiden and Sea-Storm also became nervous. At the mention of Ranma's name, Brock, Misty and Ash gave a collective gasp and stared at the redhead. Ranma. You mean, you're Ranma, the one who actually defeated Jiraiya? Ash said with awe. The trainer with the world's fastest Rapidash. Brock gulped. The only trainer to have won a Diamond Story badge. Misty squeaked. Ranma-chan became very flustered as she hurried to cover up her companion's slip-up. She didn't want anyone to connect her real self with her alter ego. She gave a nervous laugh and waved her hand. Oh no. I'm not Ranma. Actually, my name is Ran. K.O. That's it. My name is Ranko. But Jeanette just called you Ranma. Ash insisted. Ranko quickly shook her head and gave another nervous laugh. Oh, Jeanette has a bit of a habit of confusing me with my cousin Ranma. She looked at Jeanette with a slight glare. Isn't that right, Jeanette? Yes, that's it. Jeanette said quickly. I always get you two confused. Ran. K.O. She gave a little laugh. Actually, I'm just visiting my cousin while he's on his way to the Johto League. So you're not Ranma? Ash asked. Nope. I'm just passing through actually. Ranko said quickly as she got up and bowed to everyone. Well, I have to get going now, so it was nice meeting all of you. See ya. With those words, Ranma-chan invoked the Sodom final attack. She ran. Wait. I didn't get your phone number yet. Brock cried out as he began chasing after her. However, Ranma-chan had already disappeared into the forest by the time the Pokemon breeder had taken a few steps. It's no use, Brock. I called after him. Once Ranko gets going, there's no way you could catch her. Huh? Brock turned around in confusion. Sam nodded. Yeah. Ranko has a bit of a habit of disappearing and we don't know when she'll show up again. Jeanette laughed nervously. Yeah, she's always like that. Brock slumped down to his knees in disappointment, lamenting about his fiery, red-haired beauty, then brightened up as he realized that Ranma's 3 attractive companions were still there. He made an about-face and began trying to charm them. "Excuse me, girls, but would any of you be interested in joining me in a Pokemon journey of love?" Jeanette and Sammy had large sweat drops on the backs of their heads while Ash and Misty could only shake their heads and sigh. "Here we go again," Misty commented as she held Togepi close to her. She then turned to her companion. "Say, Ash, what do you think this Ranma person is like?" Ash shrugged as he replied, "I don't know, Misty, but when I meet up with him, the first thing I'm going to do is challenge him to a battle." Meanwhile, Ash's Pikachu was having a conversation with Raiden and Sea-Storm. "Pikachu? Circumflex accent, so what's your trainer like? Circumflex accent. Ash's electric rodent noted that his fellow electric mouse was more buff than he was. Raiden shrugged as he adjusted his headband. "Choo. Hi, Pikachu. Circumflex accent. Well, he's not exactly what we would call normal. Circumflex accent. Hi, Pika. Circumflex accent. What do you mean? Circumflex accent. Golduck. Circumflex accent. What we mean is that he's special. Circumflex accent. The waterfowl said. Pikachu. Circumflex accent. In what way? Circumflex accent. Both Ranma's Pikachu and Golduck smiled as the electric rodent replied. Pikachu. Hi. Circumflex accent. If we ever battle, then you'll see. Circumflex accent. Pikachu. Circumflex accent. Hey, don't underestimate me or my friends! Circumflex accent. Hi. Circumflex accent. Oh, circumflex accent. Pikachu. Circumflex accent. I single quote. Well, have you know that I've been in both the Indigo League and the Orange League! Circumflex accent. Both of Ranma's Pokemon nodded. Golduck. Circumflex accent. Impressive. Circumflex accent. Pikachu nodded and smiled. Pikachu. Hi. Pikachu. Hi. Pikachu. Circumflex accent. We made it to the top 16th in the Indigo Plateau and we won the Orange League Championships! Circumflex accent. Raiden nodded. Pikachu. Hi. Pikachu. Circumflex accent, I can tell that you've been around. Got some experience too. So you're in the Jocto League now? Circumflex accent, Pika. Die. Circumflex accent, you bet. You to ? Circumflex accent, both Pokemon nodded. Golduck. Duck. Duck. Circumflex accent, we single quote 1-2 badges already. Circumflex accent, Raiden then said, Pikachu. Pika. Die. 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 Circumflex accent, we hoped you win a plain badge at Goldenrod City. Circumflex accent, Pikachu nodded. Pikachu. Pika. 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 Circumflex accent, good luck. At Whitney and her Miltank was no pushover! Circumflex accent, Golduck. Circumflex accent, Miltank ? Circumflex accent, Pikachu. Die. Chu. Pika. Pika. Die. Pikachu. Circumflex accent, it's single quote got a rolling attack that will flatten you if you're not careful! Circumflex accent, Raiden paused and thought about it for a moment, then turned to the water Pokemon. Pikachu? Die? Die? Pikachu? Pika? Die? Chu. Circumflex accent, rolling attack, eh? What do you think? Sounds like Razor might have some competition. Circumflex accent, Raiden remembered Razor's specialty, the buzz of barrage attack. With his sharp quills spinning at more than 50,000 RPMs, the sand slash could cut through even the thick shell of a cloister. Pikachu? Circumflex accent, who single quote as Razor ? Circumflex accent, inquired Ash's favorite Pokemon. Golduck. Circumflex accent, he single quote as Ranma's sand slash. Circumflex accent, the evolved form of Psyduck replied, then turned back to Raiden. Golduck. Duck. Golduck. Circumflex accent, I think Razor's perfect for that Miltank. Circumflex accent, Pikachu shrugged, remembering how hard it was to beat Whitney's strongest Pokemon. Pikachu. Pika. Pika. Die. Circumflex accent, if you say so. By the way, where is your trainer? Circumflex accent, Sea-Storm shrugged as he replied. Duck. Duck. Golduck. Circumflex accent, I single quote I'm sure that he'll show up any time now. Sure enough, just a few dozen meters away, Ranma shivered after pouring the hot water over his head and transformed back. He had used his ki to heat up some water in a kettle and prepared to return to the others. He shuddered at the thought of meeting up with that lovesick Brock again, even though he was now male. He had heard of him from IA and wondered if anyone could be as pathetic as Brock when it came to girls. On Ranma's Earth. ACHO. A certain Kendus wondered just where that sneeze had come from. Sorry, couldn't resist. Back on the Pokemon world. Hey, guys. What's up? Everyone turned to see Ranma emerge from the forest. Raiden immediately went to his master and leapt up to perch on his right shoulder. Seastorm also went to Ranma as Ash, Brock and Misty got their first look at the only Pokemon trainer to have ever defeated Prima. Ranma. It's about time you joined us, Sam exclaimed as she and the others stood up. Ash became very excited as he ran up to him. So you're Ranma? Yeah. My cousin Ranko just told me that we had some visitors, before she left. Hi, I'm Ranma Sodom. It was then that Ash got that funny look in his eyes that Brock and Misty knew so well. He then twanked at Ranma and said, Ranma Sodom, I challenge you to a Pokemon battle. Ooh. Excuse me. You heard me. I want to battle you. Well, alright. I guess my Pokemon can use some exercise. You're on. Let's make it interesting, okay? What do you mean? Ash was ready to go as his Pikachu came up beside him, also eager to test out his skills. You're Ash Ketchum, right? The 11-year-old boy nodded. I've heard a lot about you from Jeanette and I also met up with Laura from the Big P Ranch and a few other people that know you. They all said some really good things about you. I'm impressed that you've been through all that stuff. I've only been a Pokemon trainer for just several months. Compared to me, you're a veteran. Gee, thanks. Ash scratched the back of his head while grinning sheepishly. Behind him, Misty and Brock could see his head swelling up. I'd like to see your battling skills at their strongest, so let's have a 6-on-6 battle. Hey, 6-on-6? Everyone else gasped simultaneously. Ash was about to say something, when, prepare for trouble, and make it double. Ranma sighed as he shook his head while pinching the bridge of his nose. I should have seen this one coming. There was a huge rumbling noise as a gigantic machine suddenly came out from the sky and hovered to a stop front of the group. It was in the shape of a gigantic wheezing. Okay. That's new. It's Team Rocket. Ash exclaimed as he and his friends tensed up for the coming battle. Ranma's friends also prepared for trouble. Sorry about the pun. Inside the cockpit of the huge robot, Jesse and James went through their usual spiel as their voices were transmitted over the loudspeakers. To protect the world from devastation. To unite all people within our nation. To denounce the evils of truth and love. To extend. Ranma held his head and shouted out. Will you just shut up? If I hear that motto just one more time, then I'll be blasting off at the speed of light. Team Rocket looked down and saw the frustrated martial artist. Hey, haven't met with him before? Jessie asked her partners. I remember him back at Professor Oak's lab. James recalled. Yeah. Meowth agreed as he got a good look at him. Hey, he's the guy that the boss wants so bad. He's offering a big reward for him and his Pokemon. What a stroke of luck! Jessie proclaimed. Not only will today be the day that we'll get the twerp's Pikachu, but we'll also bring in a prize trainer and his Pokemon. It looks like our ship has finally come in. James agreed. Yeah, after all those other times that it sunk. The cat Pokemon remarked. On the ground, Ranma groaned as he recognized those voices. Oh no. Not those dopes again. You've met with Team Rocket before? Misty asked. I've encountered a lot of Team Rockets, but this is the first time I had the same one come back. Ranma growled as he motioned for his Pikachu and Golduck to stand down. I'll handle this. He then stepped forward and called out to the giant wheezing. Listen up. Can we just skip the introductions and get to the part where I kick your cans? I've got a 6-on-6 match. In the wheezing, Jessie gave a shrill laugh. Fa 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 fa. You sound awfully confident. I'll have you know that this latest weapon of ours has been specially designed against all types of Pokemon. That's right. We had to scrimp and save to build it, but it was worth every penny. James added. Meowth nodded. Our Wonder Wheezing happens to be shockproof, fireproof, water-type, ice-resistant, and it has a reflective coating to protect us against psychic attacks. Wonder Wheezing? Oh, give me a break. Whatever. Ranma took a stance. You want me and my Pokemon? You're going to have to take me out first. Team Rocket laughed as Meowth began pushing some buttons. Fa 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 fa. This is going to be easy. The Pokemon sneered. Wonder Wheezing Smog Attack. The mouth of the robot opened up and released a huge cloud of noxious gases. Look out! Ash cried out to Ranma. The Pokemon trainer was about to order his Pikachu to attack, but Ranma waved him off as he faced off against his foes. Don't bother, Ash. He then focused his ki while raising his arms in a kind of crane stance. He brought them down and a huge blast of wind was stirred up, blowing away the smog. Ash, Misty and Brock were stunned. That looked like a whirlwind attack. Ash gasped. Sam shrugged. Actually, he calls that his hurricane gust attack. Team Rocket were quite surprised to see their attack blown away. Huh? How did he do that? Jessie asked. Not bad. It's only a trick. We've got other weapons to use. Meowth assured. Let's see if he can handle this sludge attack. The Pokemon activated another device and a large nozzle sprouted out from within the mouth and spewed out a brown liquid. Ranma, however, had been learning a few tricks from his companion's Pokemon as well as his own. He suddenly split into twin images of himself as the sludge splashed harmlessly between them. Suddenly, the Wonder Wheezing was surrounded by multiple images of the martial artist. That's a double team attack. Brock exclaimed. Oh, that's right. Ranma's been sparring with my Scyther a lot. Jeanette hit the palm of her left hand with her right fist. Since when can a human do a double team? James said in odd. GRR. Meowth growled as he started spraying sludge all over. However, Ranma continued to taunt his adversaries from within the illusions. Over here. Nope. Missed me. Try again. Close. But no cigar. The machine continued to fire at him, splattering the ground with sludge, but not one shot connected. Eventually, it stopped firing as its stores of sludge was exhausted. Uh-oh. We've just ran out of sludge. The cat Pokemon said as the gauges indicated that the tanks were empty. Ranma stopped with his double team and leapt high into the air. Wow! He jumps even higher than Faulkner's Dodrio. Misty remarked as her Gojeki looked up in awe. Ranma landed on the top of the machine and pulled back a fist. Your machine may be protected against special attacks, but I'm betting it's not punch-proof. Ranma declared as his fist glowed with light. Ranma can do a Mega Punch. Ash was now beyond stunned as he and the others watched Ranma's fist come crashing down on the metal skin of the Wonder Weezing. Looks like training with Bruiser has paid off. I said. K-R-A-K-O-M. The outer hull of Team Rocket's machine buckled as the fist caused a huge dent and caved in several key components. The entire weapon shuddered from the impact as fragile circuits started sparking. Ranma leapt off and decided to finish the job with style. He leapt up again and began winding up his right arm like a baseball pitcher about to throw a fastball. Inside of the Wonder Weezing, Team Rocket were coughing and panicking as their control panels began shorting out. It was then that Jessie saw Ranma leaping at them through one of the TV monitors. James. Meowth. Doesn't that look like a dynamic punch? James squeaked. This is a total disaster. Meowth cried out. At that moment, a certain Pokemon popped out of its ball. WOBDA. FEDD. We already have one disaster. We don't need another. Jessie screamed as she saw Ranma about to deliver the final blow. Ranma's dynamic punch hit home and blasted out all of the TV monitors and controls. The Wonder Weezing was sent reeling back before blowing up. Guess who was sent into Leo? Looks like Team Rocket is blasting off again. WOBDA. Ranma landed on the ground and took a relaxed stance. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Ash and said good-naturedly, "So, are you ready for our match?" Ash's jaw was gaping like the Grand Canyon. Later. You've got to tell me your secret. How did you do all those Pokemon attacks? And can you teach me? The group were now sitting near a campfire and eating Brock stew. It had been decided to wait until the next day for Ranma and Ash to have their match. Ranma's friends were conversing with Brock and Misty, while the martial artist and his soon-to-be opponent were sitting some distance away. Well, the thing is, Ranma began. I'm still training myself as well as my Pokemon and friends, so I'm not ready to take on anyone else. Besides, it took me a long time to even learn the basic moves that a Pokemon can do. And I've already been training as a martial artist for 10 years. 10 years? Yep. I started when I was 5. I didn't get into becoming a Pokemon trainer until several months ago. In a way, you've got more experience than I do. And all the moves that I can do won't mean anything in a Pokemon battle, right? It wouldn't be called a Pokemon battle if the trainer does all the battling, right? I guess. So you won't tell me how you did those attacks? Sorry, in any case, you really don't need to learn them, do you? It takes a lot of dedication and training in order to master even the simplest of moves. Basically, there are only 2 reasons why I trained myself to do Pokemon attacks in the first place. What are they? Ash asked. Well, you saw the first reason today. It helps improve my martial arts, and martial arts is mainly for self-defense, especially when you're constantly being attacked by Team Rocket. I guess you'd know what that's like, eh? I'll say. Ash agreed. Now the second reason is for the benefit of my Pokemon. I don't just train my Pokemon to get stronger, but I train with them. I build up the trust between myself and them. I will not put my Pokemon through any kind of training that I myself wouldn't go through. Not like Pops and that Neko can. I guess you would know that it takes a great deal of responsibility to raise even one Pokemon. I'll agree with you on that. Ash said. Me and my Pokemon had gone through a lot, especially me and Pikachu. At that moment, Pikachu trotted up to the pair and then leapt up to Ash's shoulder. Pika. Ranma smiled as Raiden did the same. You see, Ash, you've already gained a lot of trust between you and Pikachu, without having to go through the same kind of training that I went through. From what I've heard, you've got a lot of experience with Pokemon and how to be a good trainer. And I learned something from becoming a trainer that you probably already knew. Oh, what's that? Back before I became a trainer, I was only concerned with number 1, myself. After I got my trainer's license, I learned that others will depend on me for support and encouragement, mainly my Pokemon. I also learned that it's not a matter of winning at all costs, but more like bringing out the best in myself and my Pokemon. If they do their best, then I'll do my best. Ash smiled a bit as he looked at the Pokemon on his shoulder. Well, I can promise you that Pikachu and I are going to do our best. Right, Pikachu? Pikachu. Ranma couldn't but smile. You know, you remind me of myself when I was your age, eager, confident and full of hope. You'll go far, Ash. I know you will. So let's get some sleep, okay? Tomorrow's going to be a big day. The next day, early in the morning. This will be a full 6-on-6 battle, Brock declared. Sam nodded as she and Brock were the only gym leaders present. As such, they acted as referees. Each trainer will pit one Pokemon against each other at a time. The winner will be the trainer who defeats all the Pokemon of his opponent. Standing in an open meadow, Ranma and Ash faced each other off. Watching from the sidelines were Misty, Jeanette, and I. On one side, Ash nodded as he prepared his Pokeballs. During the morning, he had stopped by a Pokemon Center and called Professor Oak to transport one of the Pokemon he had left at the lab. Not knowing exactly which Pokemon Ranma had besides his Pikachu and Golduck, Ash had decided to go with one of his more powerful Pokemon, Snorlax. Moves such as its Mega Punch and Hyper Beam would be a great asset. Fortunately, it wasn't asleep at the time as he temporarily traded his Chikorita for it. He figured that one grass Pokemon would be enough and Bulbasaur did have more experience. He would retrieve Chikorita as soon as the 6-on-6 match was over. On the other side, Ranma also prepared to throw out his first Pokeball as he motioned for Raiden to step back. "Trainers, ready!" Sam cried out. "Set!" Brock raised his arm. "Battle!" Both gym leaders cried out together. Both trainers wound up and threw out their first Pokeballs. "I choose you." "CYNDAQUIL." Ash cried out. "Go, Razor!" Ranma shouted. Both devices opened up and released their Pokemon. Ash nodded as he saw that Ranma's Pokemon was a Sandslash. He was pretty certain that his Flame Pokemon could beat it. After all, Cyndaquil had beaten one before when they had first met. Furthermore, Cyndaquil was able to light up its flame faster now. On the other side, Ranma looked at Ash's first choice. Cyndaquil. I remember Professor Oak telling me about it when I worked at his lab. A fire type. Use your flamethrower. Ash called out. Go for it, Razor. Ranma cheered. Ash's Pokemon let loose with a scorching blast at its opponent, but Ranma's Sandslash was no slouch. Razor dodged out of the way and charged at the fire mouse. Cyndaquil continued to fire blast after blast, but Razor proved to be a lot faster than the previous Sandslash. Ash and his friends were quite amazed at its speed and evasion tactics. I've never seen a Sandslash move that quickly before, Misty remarked. It looks like it's using an agility attack. I'm not surprised, I commented. Ranma has been training with Razor to improve its speed after he got the soul badge from my brother. Ash was also impressed by the way Razor was dodging each of Cyndaquil's attacks. Wow! That Sandslash's defense is just as good as Cyndaquil's. Maybe faster. Cyndaquil. Use your agility and tackle. Ranma kept silent however as he nodded to Razor, letting his Pokemon make his own decision. Razor held up both arms in front of him to block the fire Pokemon, then lashed out with a couple of Fury swipes, sending Cyndaquil sprawling. A few more Fury swipes with the front claws and the fire mouse found itself on the defensive. BUZZSAW barrage. The Sandslash immediately curled up into a ball and starting spinning, cutting up the ground under it. Cyndaquil was caught off guard before it could counter, and was knocked back. Rolling to a stop, it squeaked out its surrender. Sam raised up an arm. Cyndaquil is unable to battle. Razor is the winner. Brock nodded. Interesting. That Sandslash can do a rolling attack, just like Whitney's Miltank. Not bad, Ash. Your Cyndaquil put up a good fight, but it needs to work on its physical attacks. Cyndaquil, return. Ash then nodded to the Pokeball, before addressing his opponent. I was kind of surprised that your Sandslash could do a rolling attack, but I know how to beat that. Your Sandslash is also a ground type, so... T-O-D-O-D-I-L-E. Go! The second Pokeball was thrown and released the water type. Ranma was unfamiliar with it and took out his Pokedex. Asterisk T-O-D-O-D-I-L-E, the big jawed Pokemon. This Pokemon has powerful jaw muscles and teeth. Trainers should be careful when handling it, because it likes to use bite attack. Its water gun attack is especially strong. Asterisk Ranma nodded as he called to his Pokemon. Razor, do you want to go on? The Sandslash nodded as he charged his opponent. Sandslash. T-O-D-O-D-I-L-E. Water gun attack. Razor already knew the best way to deal with water attacks, which was not to be there. In an instant he dug into the ground and was burrowing like mad. The water stream passed harmlessly over him as he tunneled his way toward his opponent. The water Pokemon looked about for its opponent, and was quite surprised when the ground beneath it began to shake. Totodile! Look out! Ash shouted. The Sandslash burst out from under the ground and sent Totodile flying. He then went into a buzz of barrage attack toward where his adversary was going to land. Ash countered. T-O-D-O-D-I-L-E. Water gun attacked the ground and did some trenches. As it had done against Whitney's Miltank, the lizard flipped in the air and began using its water gun to create ditches in front of the Sandslash. Razor hit a depression at an angle, and was also sent flying upwards, as Totodile was about to give it a water gun at point-blank range. However, unlike other Sandslashes, Razor was not helpless in the air. He quickly uncurled and flipped over the water stream, ending up behind his opponent. What? Ash gasped as he saw his Pokemon miss its target. Anything goes. Totodile never knew what hit it as it was pummeled and kicked in several places in the space of a few seconds. Everyone gasped as the Sandslash knocked the stuffing out of the Totodile before ending the technique with a seismic toss. As the water Pokemon landed on the ground, Razor landed beside it and raised its front paws in victory. Totodile is unable battle, Sam declared. PB but how? Ash exclaimed. Ranma shrugged. Just because you know how to beat a rolling attack or something similar, doesn't mean that I can't think of a counter against it. One of the most important rules of martial arts is to never keep repeating your moves, or you're just inviting your opponent to figure out how to beat them. Still, if my Pokemon didn't know how to fight in midair, then you would won that one. By now, Ash was beginning to see why Ranma had beaten Prima. He was unpredictable and his Pokemon could adapt very quickly. He would have to go all out. Totodile, return. Ash then took out his third Pokeball. Let's see if your Sandslash can stand up to a grass type. I choose you. Bulbasaur. Ranma winced. Aside from the Celadon gym, he and his Pokémon didn't have that much experience against plant types. As he recalled, Storm had won by pure dumb luck when he was a Psyduck. Razor. Slash. Razor was on a winning streak and wanted to continue. Ash then called out to his Bulbasaur. Razor Leaf. Bulbasaur. The Pokémon let loose with a flurry of the sharp projectiles. Razor managed to knock away the majority of the leaves with his front claws. A few managed to nip his sides. His skin was tough, but not that tough. Vine Whip attack. The Bulbasaur shot forward with its vines and Razor found himself hard-pressed to dodge. Not bad. Ranma thought. Ash has figured out that the best way to fight Razor is from long distance. Razor. Eruption Blast. Slash. The Pokémon slammed both front paws to the ground and sent a burst of ki to the soil. The ground around the Bulbasaur began to rumble, then suddenly scent exploded, sending the grass-type Pokémon into the air. What the? Ash gasped. Bulba. What was that? Brot gasped. You can kind of think of it like a long-range, vertical fissure attack. Sam explained. Razor leapt high to finish off Bulbasaur, but Ash got his wits back and called out. Bulbasaur. Leech Seed. A small pellet launched from the top of Bulbasaur's bulb and attached itself to Razor's extended paws. The seed extended its vines, wrapping it about the Sandslash's body. Razor. Ranma cried out as his Pokémon began to fall. The Sandslash began to have bad memories of Koga's callback as he felt his energy being drained away. He landed on the ground and struggled to free himself, but that was when Bulbasaur came down to finish off the fight. Solar Beam. Ash commanded. Bulbasaur. The Pokémon began gathering solar energy from the dawn and a few seconds later, released a sizzling beam of light. The attack hit home and Razor was sent flying back. The Pokémon landed hard on his back as Ranma came running toward his fallen friend. Razor. Are you okay? The Sandslash weakly nodded his head. Sand. Slash. You did great, Razor. I'm proud of you. It's time for you to rest. Ranma then recalled his mouse into his Pokeball, then turned to Ash. Razor is unable to battle. This round goes to Ash. Brock declared. Looks like your friend is a good battler. Sam commented. It takes a lot to beat Ranma's Pokémon. That was impressive, Ash. But let's see if your Bulbasaur can handle my next one. Bring it on. We're ready. Ash said. Bulba. Okay. Ranma then gestured down to his Pikachu. Raiden, you're up. Pikachu. Ash smiled. Grass-type Pokémon had a big advantage against electric types. Okay, Bulbasaur. Let's take it down. Razor Leaf. Bulbasaur. Once again, the plant Pokémon let loose with a barrage of sharp leaves. However, Raiden was a lot faster than Razor and dodged every one of the leaves. As he came in close with his agility and quick attacks, He landed several blows on Ash's Bulbasaur. Vine Whip! Ash called out. The Bulbasaur shot out its vines to entangle Ranma's Pikachu, but snag! Oh! Ash gasped as everyone, except Ranma, looked on in awe. Raiden had caught both vines in his paws. Ranma smirked. Not this time, Ash. Raiden whipped Bulbasaur's Vine Whip. Raiden yanked hard on the vines, pulling Bulbasaur off its feet. He then slammed his opponent repeatedly on the ground as Ash began to have flashbacks of his Pokémon receiving the same treatment at the Indigo Plateau. Jeanette's Bellsprout had done the exact same thing. Raiden then put Bulbasaur into an airplane spin before launching the grass Pokémon high. He then leapt up after him. Bulbasaur, Leech Seed! Ash cried out desperately. However, Bulbasaur was too dazed from the pounding Raiden had given to it to act quickly enough. The electric rodent caught up to his opponent and anything goes. If Brock, Misty and Ash thought Razor's aerial specialty was fast, then they were totally stunned by Ranma's Pikachu. Raiden appeared to all like a yellow blur as he delivered a barrage of kicks and pooches that ensured that when Bulbasaur came down, he wouldn't be getting back up soon. He decided not to use any electric shocks as it wouldn't have mattered. A bruised and battered Bulbasaur landed in front of Ash as Raiden came down in a ready stance. "Are you alright, Bulbasaur?" Ash asked with great concern. "Sore." Bulbasaur nodded. Oh, it was in no shape to go down. Bulbasaur is unable to battle. The score is now 3-1 for Ranma. Sam declared. "You did great, Bulbasaur. Return." After recalling his Pokémon, Ash faced off against Ranma with a look of utter determination in his eyes, which matched the one in his opponent. "It's time to get serious, Ash." "You bet it is." The boy looked down at his Pikachu. "It's time to get in there, Pikachu." The electric rodent came forward to face off against its counterpart. The two stared hard at each other. Pikachu. Raiden said slowly. Circumflex accent. I was hoping we'd bat against each other. Circumflex accent. Pikachu. Ash's Pokémon replied. Circumflex accent. Let's single quote S2 of exclamation point. Circumflex accent. The scene freezes as the two Pokémon prepared to let loose with everything they got. To be continued. Author's notes: I know I'm a stinker for leaving you all hanging like this, but the rest of this match was so long, I had to break it off somewhere. In Chapter 15 Part 3, we shall see the end of this match. I don't want to give anything away, so we'll see you there. Chapter 17 Chapter 15, Part 3, Battles and Fist of the Pikachu. Disclaimer. So what do you want me to do about it? Thoughts? Circumflex accent. Pokémon Language. Chapter 15 Part 3 Battles end. The two Pikachu faced each other off as they awaited for their masters to give their first commands. On one side was an electric rodent that has been through many battles and competed into Pokemon championships. One might say that Pikachu was a veteran to Pokemon battles. On the other side was its counterpart, who happened to be wearing a headband, was a bit more muscular, and had been trained in a unique style of fighting. This electric rodent had already taken out Pikachu's friend Bulbasaur, one of Ash's more seasoned fighters. Though Raiden had yet to compete in any Pokemon leagues, he was no slouch when it came to combat. The two Pokemon eyes continued to stare at each other. Then, Pikachu. Quick attack. Ash's favorite Pokemon sprang forward in a blur of yellow. However, Raiden quickly glanced to his master. Ranma simply nodded, indicating that the Pokemon was free to use any tactic. Raiden stood his ground as his opponent charged in, then at the last instant, swerved to the side while lashing out with his tail. The appendage sparked with power as it slammed into Pikachu's face, knocking it back. Pika. Raiden took a defensive stance. Pika. 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 Circumflex accent not bad. Try again. Circumflex accent. Pikachu shook its head as it got back to its feet. Hang in there, Pikachu. Show Raiden how tough you are. Ash cheered. Thunderbolt attack. The mouse let loose with a sizzling bolt of electricity that would have lit up a building. However, Raiden focused his energy and stood his ground as the attack struck home. When it ended, Ranma's Pokemon was still standing. Whoa! Ranma's Pikachu took that attack and shrugged it off. Brock whistled. Actually, I don't think Raiden even felt it. Sam remarked. Not bad, Ash. Ranma nodded as he addressed his Pikachu. Okay, Raiden. Show Pikachu what a real Thunderbolt attack looks like. Pika. Raiden's electric punches sparked once, then let loose with a huge bolt that was a real wall shaker. Pikachu. Raiden's opponent had to use every ounce of speed and agility it possessed to dodge. It winced a bit as the attack grazed one side and flashed by, scorching the ground and blasting a nearby tree, causing it to topple over into a smoking ruin. Pikachu had a big sweat drop behind its head as it glanced at the damage that one attack had created. That was some electric attack. Misty commented in awe. Jeanette shrugged. Actually, Raiden wasn't really trying that time. What? When Raiden really gets going, he makes a Rachel look like a dead car battery. Pikachu. Circumflex accent that was for openers. Circumflex accent Raiden then charged in with a speed that his opponent had rarely seen before. Pikachu tried to counter with its agility, but that was when Raiden leapt high. Ash and his friends gasped at how high Raiden could jump as he powered up his energy and let loose with a thunder attack. Unfortunately for Pikachu, it was a tad too slow to dodge it completely. Boom! The ground trembled as random sparks and bolts went flying everywhere. The ground became blacker from the intense heat being given off. However, when Raiden landed after ending his attack, He was very surprised to see Pikachu still standing on its tail. "Way to go, Pikachu!" Ash cheered. "Impressive." Pikachu used its tail as a ground to dodge the electric attack. I commented. "Yes, but it looks like it didn't dodge it completely." Jeanette pointed out. It was true. Though it avoided the brunt of the attack, Pikachu had still received a sizable amount of voltage when the attack spread out. It had felt as if it was battling Lieutenant Surge's Rage all over again. Pikachu was a bit shaky as it got back to its feet. "Pikachu, Pika." Circumflex accent I single quote and impressed dot circumflex accent Raiden admitted. "Pikachu." Circumflex accent let single quote s get serious exclamation point circumflex accent Ranma's sparring partner then charged him with his agility. Pikachu countered with its own as the two rodents darted at each other. However, Raiden had the advantage in close quarters combat and Pikachu took several hits. When Ash's Pikachu tried to lash out with its tail charged with electricity, Raiden ducked, then countered with a sweet kick, knocking his opponent to the ground. It knows how to do a low kick. Brock was more than dumbstruck. "Actually, that was a basic sweet kick," Sam said. "Pikachu seems to be holding out well against Raiden," I observed. "So far," Jeanette agreed tentatively. "He did pretty well in the Indigo League, as I remember. Then again, it could be that Raiden is just testing out his opponent's skills. You know what he's like when he goes all out." "What do you mean?" Misty inquired. "I mean that." The Crimson City trainer pointed with her index finger as Raiden had decided to up the ante. "Don't give up, Pikachu. You can beat him." Ash cheered on. "Thunder attack." Pikachu darted back to get some more fighting room, jumped, then let loose with a massive blast of electricity. Raiden, however, shrugged off that blast as well, though he did feel a bit unsteady for a moment. "Pika." Circumflex accent you single quote ray still standing question mark exclamation point circumflex accent Pikachu couldn't believe that Raiden was withstanding every one of his attacks. It began to suspect that its opponent was really a rock type. "Pika, Pika, die." Circumflex accent at one. Her top circumflex accent Raiden admitted that Pikachu's last attack had some bite to it, and he should have dodged it. He could see how experienced his opponent was if it was able to generate that much voltage. Ranma's Pokemon decided that it was time to finish the match. Raising one paw up, he began focusing his power. He glowed with a thin blue aura, as his cheek pouches began sparking. Electrical energy started collecting above his paw as Raiden used his key to condense the voltage into a large ball. "Huh? Is that a zap cannon attack?" Brock gasped. "No. It's something a lot worse," Sam replied. "THUNDERBLAST bomb." Ranma shouted. "Dodge it, Pikachu!" Ash cried out. Raiden leapt high again and threw out his attack like Nolan Ryan pitching a fastball. Ash's Pokemon managed to avoid a direct hit, but with Raiden's attack, even a near miss was devastating. The sphere of power exploded on the ground and sent electrical blasts like shrapnel. Several of those blasts caught Pikachu as he desperately tried to get away. However, it was at Raiden's mercy as he came down and lashed out with a flying kick. Pikachu was sent sprawling and rolled to a stop. It tried to bravely get back to its feet, but then collapsed. Pikachu! Ash ran up to his best friend and picked him up in his arms. Are you okay? Raiden stood in a neutral stance as he looked up at his fallen opponent. When Pikachu stirred, Ranma's Pokemon let off a sigh of relief. He had just used enough force to do the job and Pikachu would recover. It's okay, Pikachu. You did great. Ash said. Pikachu, Pikachu. Raiden said. Both Ash and his Pikachu looked down and saw Raiden giving the both of them a respectful bow. He then addressed his defeated opponent. Pikachu, Pika. Circumflex accent, you thought bravely, my friend. It was an honor. Circumflex accent. With these words, Raiden trotted over to his master. Sam and the others noted that he was limping slightly, favoring his right forepaw. When he got to Ranma, he started addressing him with paw signals and words. After all this time with him, Ranma understood his Pokemon pretty well. Pikachu. Hi! Pikachu. Hi! Pikachu. Ranma looked at his Pokemon strangely and wondered if he had misunderstood Raiden's message. Are you sure? Pika. Raiden nodded while giving Ranma a wink. Ranma looked over to Ash and Pikachu, then smiled. Yeah, I guess so. He then called out to Sven. Sven. Raiden had just told me. That last attack of Pikachu's hurt him more than he thought. He can't battle anymore today. He's calling this round a draw. Both him and Pikachu are out. What? Sam was confused. But Raiden clearly won that round. The score is 4-1 in favor of you. Ranma shook his head. If Raiden says he can't battle, then that's the same as a loss, or in this case, a technical knockout. The score is 4-2. Sam gazed at him for a long time, then nodded as she announced, Raiden and Pikachu, both are unable to battle. Ash and Pikachu were struck dumb at this turn of events. Ranma, however, took it in stride as he held out another Pokeball. In the meantime, Raiden went over to where Misty, IA and Jeanette were and sat down beside them. Ash could only hand Pikachu over to Misty as he faced off against his opponent. Pokeball, go! Both trainers cried out as the match resumed. Nay! Wildfire reared on his hind legs as he prepared to battle. Snorlax! The gigantic Pokemon emerged from its Pokeball. Oh! Ranma quickly took out his Pokedex. *SNORLAX, the sleepy Pokemon. SNORLAX is extremely durable and is among the heaviest Pokemon. They are able to eat large amounts of food and some can weigh up to 1,000 pounds or more. It's like a Pokemon sumo wrestler. Well, it may be strong, but Wildfire has the advantage in speed. Wildfire. Super Fire Spin. The flame horse instantly put on the speed and began sprinting around his opponent, leaving huge trails of flames behind it. Soon the Snorlax was engulfed in a fiery column. However, there was a huge roar within that conflagration, and the flames suddenly exploded outward as Snorlax burst free from its superheated prison. Aside from a few minor burns, it was unharmed. Great job, Snorlax! Ash cheered. Fire wave stomp. The horse reared up, then brought both of its front hooves down on the ground. The earth trembled as twin fire blasts burned toward Wildfire's opponent. There was a massive explosion as the attacks hit home. Since Snorlax wasn't exactly built for speed, it couldn't dodge fast enough. The massive Pokemon was driven back several feet, but remained standing. Whoa! It's like trying to bring down Godzilla. Ranma was impressed. You are doing great, Snorlax. Ash then gestured with a hand. Now! Mega Punch. Counter with Fire Kickback. The Snorlax charged. As it moved forward, it reared back with a fist, which glowed with a white light. At the same time, Wildfire turned around and lashed out with both hind legs. The hooves burned brightly with flames. PUHWHOM. Both attacks hit hard as Wildfire felt Snorlax's fist slam into his back. At the same time, Snorlax felt an intense burning sensation on its chest. It was like having heartburn on the outside. Both Pokemon staggered back, but Snorlax's endurance was higher and it still had some fight left in it. As Wildfire stumbled, Snorlax readied for the final attack. Use Hyper Beam now! Ash cried out. Ranma winced as he saw the Snorlax take a deep breath to collect energy, then let loose with a huge, yellow-orange beam. Flame Aura. Wildfire had recently learned how to absorb energy attacks from Razor and pumped up his aura and flames to the maximum. However, it wasn't enough in his weakened condition and the Hyper Beam overwhelmed him. Wildfire went down. When the beam faded away, Ranma immediately ran to his Pokemon's side. Are you okay, buddy? The flame horse gave a slight nod with his head, indicating that he would recover. Ranma breathed out a sigh of relief. You did fine. You earned a good rest. Ranma's Rapidash is unable to battle. Brock declared. Snorlax wins. All right. It's 4-3 now, Ranma. Ash said triumphantly. You and your Pokemon have got spirit, Ash. I'll give you that. The big-tailed martial artist recalled his Rapidash. Your Snorlax has a lot of muscle, but let's see if it can stand up to some mind power. Go see Storm. Golduck. I'm interested to see how Ranma trains his water Pokemon, Misty remarked as she admired the very fine-looking Golduck, and wished that her Psyduck would evolve. Ash became a bit worried as the waterfowl Pokemon appeared. The last two Golducks he had seen were very powerful, especially the one he saw during his journey through the Orange Islands. However, Snorlax was a tough battler and was resistant to many attacks. If it could just hit fast and hard, Snorlax could win this one. He only knew of one attack that could do the job. Hyper Beam Snorlax. The huge Pokemon began powering up again for another blast, but Storm was quicker. His eyes glowed as he grabbed hold of his opponent with his disable attack. As Snorlax was frozen, the water Pokemon launched into a flying kick and slammed hard into Snorlax's head. Its belly may be able to absorb physical impacts, but its head was a different matter. Snorlax reeled back a bit as Storm leapt back to get some distance. The kick had stunned his opponent momentarily, enabling the Golduck to power up for a final assault. The gem on his forehead glowed. As the disable attack wore off, Snorlax resumed powering up for a Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam, now! Ash called out. Hyper Beam. Ranma called out. Both Pokemon let loose with massive beams of energy at each other. Both attacks collided head-on and for one brief moment, they seemed to be equally matched. However, Storm's mental discipline was greater and an instant later, his beam overpowered Snorlax's, which caused a backlash to occur. Snorlax caught the impact of both its own beam and the Golduck's, which caused it to stagger back. Then the Golduck let loose with his strongest attack. Psychic Tsunami! Ranma yelled. The Golduck let loose with a huge blue blast of psychic and ki energy which engulfed the massive Snorlax like a tidal wave, sending it back. The Pokemon crashed into a grove of trees and rolled to a stop. It tried to get back to its feet, but fell back down with a thunderous clamor. Ash gasped as he recalled his Pokemon, then said to the device, "You battled great Snorlax. You need a good nap after that." Storm was breathing hard. He hadn't had to move something that massive since Violet City. He was exhausted both mentally and physically. Ranma walked up to his Pokemon and placed a hand on his shoulder. "If you're too tired to battle, then I'll understand. That was a lot of Pokemon that you had to move. Do you want to stop?" Golduck almost began shaking his head, but Ranma patted the Pokemon's shoulder. "That will be enough, Storm. Ash only has one Pokemon left, so I'll let Wind Rider and Bruiser handle it." "Good job, Ranma," Sam called out. Ranma recalled his Golduck and said to her, "Storm won, but he put too much of a strain on his psychic powers. He won't be battling anymore." "All right, Ranma." Sam nodded then addressed the others. "The score is now 5-4. Ash Ketchum has one Pokemon left. Ranma has two." Ranma was confident that his martial arts Pokemon would be able to take out whatever Pokemon Ash had left as he threw out the Pokeball. "Go Bruiser." Unfortunately, Ash's last Pokemon happened to be a type in which fighting-type Pokemon had a natural weakness with. "Go Noctowl." Ranma had never seen this Pokemon, so he took out his Pokédex. *OCDOWL, the evolved form of Hoot. An OCDOWL specializes in hypnosis, confusion and other psychic attacks. Hoops. Even a talented trainer can mess up now and then. Hypnosis attack. Ash cried out. In addition to being a psychic type, Noctowl had the advantage of being able to fly. The bird soared high and blanketed the area with hypnotic waves. Bruiser was unable to dodge and was soon under Noctowl's spell. Despite his valiant efforts to resist, the Macaque was unable to counter the attack with his opponent so high in the air. His feet began to buckle. Gust attack. Noctowl let loose with a blast of wind, which made Bruiser even more disoriented. Ma dive and tackle. In addition to being vulnerable to psychic attacks, fighting types did have a weakness to air attacks as well. Bruiser could defend himself in mid-air combat, but Noctowl caught him on the ground as it slammed hard into his chest. Bruiser fell back and hit the ground hard. Ranma rushed up to his friend and cradled his head in his arms. "It's okay, Bruiser. It was my fault. You did what you could." Ma. Choke. Ranma nodded as he recalled his Pokemon. "Not too shabby. Ash dominated that round," I remarked. Ranma made a mistake of sending out Bruiser against a psychic and flying type. He didn't know that Ash had Noctowl. Jeanette said. Then again, Ash did pretty well in the Indigo League and he's got a lot of experience. Well, now we'll see just what Wind Rider can do. Wind Rider? Misty asked. What's a Wind Rider? Ranma's secret weapon, Jeanette replied. Even though he's newly evolved, Ash's Noctowl looks like a very tough battler and a powerful psychic type as well. Well, we're tied, Ranma, Ash said with a smile. That we are. Then I guess it's time. Ranma held out his last Pokeball. My Noctowl is ready for anything. Well then, go Wind Rider. The Pokeball popped open and released Ranma's final Pokemon. Pidgeotto. A huge gust of wind was stirred up as Wind Rider gave his huge wings a few practice flaps. Ash and his friends gasped as they got their first look at the evolved form of a Pidgeot. What is that? Ash took out his Pokédex, which had been recently updated after he had Snorlax transported. Asterisk Didgeon, the bird Pokemon, the evolved form of Didgeotto. Discovered by trainer RNMASAUDIOME. No further data available. Asterisk unevolved Pidgeot. Brot gulped. Ranma nodded. Yep. And now? Wind Cannon. Wind Cannon? Misty asked. Think of it as really powerful just attack. I replied. The ebony avian gave his wings one forward sweep and generated a gigantic blast of pressurized air. Noctowl was sent shooting off and was unable to fly against such a force. Then Wind Rider took to the air like a missile. Ash gathered his wits and called out to his Pokemon. Hang in there, Noctowl. Hypnosis attack. The bird managed to right itself and let loose with a psychic attack. However, Ranma's Pokemon simply blinked once then slammed into Noctowl with a mid-air tackle attack. The smaller bird was sent spiraling downward as its opponent came around for another pass. Noctole's psychic attack didn't affect it at all. Brot gasped. Well, if psychic attacks don't work on him, then Wind Rider must be a dark-type Pokemon, Sam surmised. Finish it off, Wind Rider. Sonic Wing. The Dark Flyer used its wings to generate another blast of pressurized air, but this time, the sudden movement caused a controlled sonic boom. This caused Noctole to become totally disoriented and it began plummeting toward the ground like a stone. However, Wind Rider had decided that he had already won the match and dug down to save his opponent. Gently catching the Noctole in his talons, he then glided gently down toward the ground. As soon as they landed safely, Wind Rider spread out his wings and let off a cry of victory. Noctole is unable to battle. The winner is Ranma Sodom, Sam declared as Ash ran up to his Pokemon. Are you okay, Noctole? The bird let off a tired hoot, indicating that it would be alright. Ash nodded as he returned it to its Pokeball, then stood up to face off against his opponent. Ranma patted the wing of his pigeon, then walked up to Ash. Holding out a hand, he smiled and said, "Good match. I can see why you did well in the Indigo League and won the Orange League championships." Ash clenched his fist at his sides, but decided that Ranma had won fair and square. He took Ranma's hand in his own and nodded. "It sure was a good match. I can see why you beat Prima." The two trainers acknowledged each other's skills and had won each other's respect. Later, "It was a great battle and I hope we can do it again someday. Who knows? We may even face each other off at the Johto League. If we do, I promise you that I'll give you a much tougher battle. I learned a lot today," Ash said enthusiastically. The match had given the younger trainer new inspiration to train harder. As for Ranma, he was very pleased that someone so young had such experience. "I'm sure you will. Well, I guess it's time that we head on to Goldenrod City. I've got a plane badge to win. Good luck against Whitney," Ash said as he, Misty and Brot began to walk down the path that was in the direction of Ecrutech City. As the trio headed off, Brot called back to Ranma. "Ranma, the next time you see your cousin Ranko, ask her if she'd like to go out with me." Ranma developed a large sweat drop as he replied, "Yeah, right." As Ranma and his friends waved farewell to Ash and his friends, Raiden easily leapt up and perched on his master's shoulder. The big-tailed trainer smirked as he noted how easily Raiden had moved. As he began walking toward the outskirts of Goldenrod City, he addressed his Pokemon in quiet, but teasing tone. Walking several meters behind him were the girls. "Why, Raiden, I can see that your paw isn't hurting anymore." Pika. The mouse gave his trainer an embarrassed shrug. "Admit it. You weren't that hurt, were you?" Raiden was silent for a long while before nodding. I didn't think so. I've seen you take a lot worse. Pikachu? None. I ain't mad at you for that. Really? I think you made a good decision. Winning isn't everything. Pika. Ranma chuckled a bit at his Pokemon's bewilderment. I guess it does sound strange for me to say that. Ash and Pokemon are a great team, and I think that it was enough that they actually managed to hold out as long as they did. For me, it's not the victory, but the challenge that makes this journey worthwhile. Pika. Raiden nodded his head in agreement. The fact that Pikachu actually managed to hurt him, if only a little, was proof that Ash and his Pokémon were destined to go far. This match has shown to me that we've got a long way to go, but as long as you and the others are with me, then we're going to make it. Pikachu. Raiden nuzzled his master as he and the others neared the edge of Goldenrod City. To be continued. Author's notes. Well, the long-awaited match between Ranma and Ash now draws to a close. I know that many of you feel that Ranma's Pokémon should have made a clean sweep of the battle, but what would have been the point in that? This story, like all the others, is to show how Ranma could change from the original series, and I think that he is maturing and learning more responsibility as he continues on his Pokemon journey. Winning at all costs is not an option anymore, since he is responsible for the well-being of his Pokemon. Furthermore, as time goes on, Ranma will see that there is more to life than just training and winning battles, and having friends that will always support him will make him even stronger. That's the real heart of this story and what makes it so enjoyable. In the next chapter, we will see the battle between Whitney and Ranma as well as a new surprise. See you there. Chapter 18 Chapter 16 A cut above the rest. Fist of the Pikachu. Disclaimer: Pokemon and Ranma are characters of someone else's imagination, so go bother them. Thoughts. Chapter 16 A cut above the rest. Well, here we are. Ranma commented as he and his companions entered the busiest section of Goldenrod City. As always, the metropolis was bustling with people and the streets were loaded with shops. Wow! This is the first time I've been in Goldenrod City. Sam commented as her eyes glittered at the sight of all the things that were on sale. At the last Pokemon Center, Mom called and told me to pick up a few things for her when we got here. Jeanette added, I've been wanting to do a little shopping myself. I smiled as she saw a dress shop advertising a 40% discount on all purchases. Come on, Ranma. All three girls said as they grabbed hold of the martial artist's arms and dragged him toward the stores. Now hold on. Wait a second. We're here for a badge, not discounts. Whoa! It was too late. Once his female friends saw those low prices and great buys, there was no stopping them. Later, Ranma moaned. Going shopping with one girl was hectic, but with three was almost unbearable. At the moment, he was carrying more than 20 boxes in his arms. Behind him, his Macoke was carrying a huge load as well. At this point, Bruiser was wishing he would evolve into a Macamp. Having 4 arms would make balancing the packages easier. Walking beside the martial arts Pokemon, Raiden, Razor and Sea Storm were also loaded down with goods. Ranma couldn't use wildfire or wind rider since the horse's flames would have set the boxes on fire and the pigeon was just too big for the streets of Goldenrod City. "Hurry up, guys," Jeanette called back to them. "There's a store that we want to check up on." Ranma gritted his teeth. "Aw, come on, girls. Don't you think you have enough now? We won't be able to take all this stuff along." And Ranma then felt extremely agitated when he peeked between two boxes and saw where the girls were heading next, a lingerie shop. "Oh no. Oh, no way. I ain't going in there." "Why not?" Sam asked. "Because I'm a guy, remember? If I went in there, people would think I was some kind of pervert." Back on Ranma's home world, an ancient evil suddenly sneezed from within a sealed cave. I shrugged as she pulled Ranma into a nearby alley. "No problem." She then took out a canteen from her carry-all and doused him with some cold water. "There you go. You have nothing to worry about since you're a girl now, Ranko. So let's go." "Hey, no fair," a wet Ranko complained as she was dragged into the shop. Later on, at the Goldenrod Pokemon Center, "I can't believe you tried to get me to wear a bra," Ranma grumbled as he emerged from the center's restrooms. He had used the hot water to change back. Currently, his Pokemon were being treated, along with Jeanette, Sam and Ice. "Sorry, but we couldn't resist," Jeanette giggled. She and her friends had already sent most of their purchases to their homes via delivery service and were now ready to face off against the Goldenrod gym leader. At that moment, Nurse Joy came up to the group with a tray full of Pokeballs. Beside her, Chauncey also was carrying a tray. Raiden was walking beside it. "Well, here we are. All of your Pokemon are now ready to go," the Pokemon caregiver said as she handed each trainer their respective Pokemon. "Chauncey. Pikachu. All right. Thanks a lot, Nurse Joy," Ranma said as he took his Pokeballs. "Excuse me, but I thought those Pokemon belonged to a red-haired girl that came in with these other girls." Ranma nodded. "Yeah. Well, that was my cousin Ranko. She brought in my Pokemon for me. Right, Raiden?" "Pika." The electric mouse nodded as he hopped onto Ranma's right shoulder. "I see." The nurse nodded. "So you're all going to be challenging Whitney for a plain badge?" "That's right." Ranma and the others turned to leave. "Good luck. Whitney is no pushover. It took a trainer named Ash Ketchum a lot of work to beat her. So I've heard." Much later. "Now where is that gym?" Ranma wondered as he and his friends wandered the streets. With the many twists and turns of Goldenrod City, the group was soon lost. "Maybe we should have asked Nurse Joy for directions," I suggested. "We can't now." Sam shook her head. "With all these crowds and dead-end streets, I don't even remember the way back to the Pokemon Center. Any luck with the guidebook, Jeanette?" The trainer from Crimson City shook her head as she scanned through the guidebook. "No. I can't make sense of these maps. There are just too many intersections and alleys, and we're in the heart of downtown." Ranma pondered it for a few minutes, then snapped his fingers. I got it. If we can't go through the streets, then let's just go over them. Huh? All three girls said at once. Follow me. Ranma then bounded toward a nearby mailbox and used it as a springboard to leap up to a shop awning. He was followed closely by Raiden. He began gaining altitude with each leap and was soon triangle jumping up the sides of two buildings. The females shrugged as they began following his lead. Ia and Jeanette were making 20-foot leaps while Sam lagged behind at 17. The training that Ranma had been putting them through had begun to show as they hopped up toward the roof of a very tall building. Several people on the streets below stopped and watched in awe as the four disappeared from sight after making it to the top. Okay, Ranma. Now what? Sam asked as they stood on the roof of a 12-story hotel. Now, we fly. Ranma replied as he took out Wind Rider's Pokeball. Come on, out and spread your wings. He tossed the device into the air, which popped open and released his bird Pokemon. Pidgeo. The huge bird caused a considerable gust of wind as he spread out his flying appendages, which nearly knocked his trainer off the roof. Take it easy, pal. Ranma called out, which caused Wind Rider to come down as the girls began ascending the bird's back. Once everyone was aboard, the ebony avian took off. High in the sky, above Goldenrod City. This is so boring. A news reporter commented as he and his cameraman rode in a traffic helicopter. Same old skyline, same old traffic congestion, same old. Whoosh. K-R-A-K-O-O-O-M. A black shape suddenly sped past them like a rocket, causing the helicopter to experience sudden turbulence as a sonic boom followed. The pilot fought to maintain control and managed to steady his craft after a minute. What the heck was that? The newsman exclaimed as he scanned the skies for whatever had passed them. Whatever it was, it's long gone now. The camera operator said as he had his device pointed at a tiny black dot that was receding in the distance. On the pigeon's back. Ranma. Slow down. Sam cried out as she and the other girls clung tightly to the bird's back. Even with Wind Rider's aura protecting them from air friction and inertial forces, it was still hard to hold on. We'll be halfway to Olive City if Wind Rider doesn't stop. Jeanette gasped. Ranma nodded as he was perched near the junction of his bird's neck. Looking down, he caught a glimpse of a structure on the ground that looked like a gym and pointed at it. Catching the signal out of the corner of one eye, the pigeon nodded and began to decelerating. Outside the Goldenrod Gym. Any more challengers for today? Whitney asked one of her assistants. Looks like that was the last one. The aide answered. Well, then I guess it's time to close up and... It was then that a gale force wind was stirred up, causing a huge cloud of dust to blow past the two girls. A large shadow appeared on the ground, which made them look up. What they saw coming in for a landing made them shocked beyond words. It's not every day that the evolved form of a Pidgeot came to visit. As soon as the bird landed, The passengers quickly got off. IA and Jeanette were a bit unsteady on their feet, having some trouble with their equilibrium, while Sam was desperately trying to hold down her lunch. Ranma took several deep breaths to calm down before disembarking from his ride with his Pikachu. Whitney and her assistant got over their sudden surprise as they slowly approached the group. I knew I shouldn't have had that extra slice of cake for dessert. Sam moaned. You girls okay? I thought by now, you'd be used to Wind Rider. Ranma asked as he led Jeanette and I leaned on him for support. Just caught us by surprise. That's all. Jeanette gasped. Yes, we were expecting Wind Rider to just glide around, not take off like a missile. I said. Sorry about that. Ranma said as he gently set Jeanette and I down on a nearby bench. I guess Wind Rider was just too anxious to spread his wings. I've never seen such a big bird Pokemon before. All four trainers and Raiden looked over and saw the owner of the voice. Hello. Whitney greeted. Welcome to the Goldenrod Gym. Are you here to challenge for a plain badge? Ranma nodded as he absently patted his bird's wing. Wind Rider made some gentle cooing noises and then bent down to nuzzle him. Yeah, me, Jeanette and I are here to battle the gym leader. I'm the gym leader. The name's Whitney. The girl again looked up at Ranma's Pokemon with awe. I've never seen a Pokemon like this one. What is it? Ranma took out his Pokédex and held it up to Wind Rider. He had recently added new data to it. Asterisk DIDGEDON, the bird DOKEMON, the evolved form of DIDGEOD. It is able to fly at an altitude of 3 miles and can reach speeds of Mach 4. Its gust attack is powerful enough to demolish a 4-story building. Asterisk unevolved Pidgeot. Is that really possible? Whitney was amazed to say the least. Yeah, it took a lot of training and hard work to get him to this level. Ranma admitted. Is it a dark-type Pokemon? The gym leader asked, noting the bird's plumage, which reminded her of a Murkrow. The martial artist considered his Pokemon and replied, you know, he might be. He did stand up to Noctool's attack. I'll have to find out more later. Right now, I'm here for a badge, so let's battle. You go on ahead. We're not up to battling right now, Jeanette said. She and the others were still a bit dizzy from the sudden acceleration and high altitude. After returning Wind Rider to his Pokeball, Ranma and Whitney faced each other off as everyone else stood on the sidelines. This will be a 3-on-3 battle between the gym leader Whitney and the challenger. The aide looked at Ranma. Say, what's your name? Ooh. Ranma took a deep breath, as he knew that his exploits were probably well known by now. Oh well, no help for it. It's Ranma Sodom. Ranma Sodom? Whitney repeated with interest. Well now, this is a surprise. I was wondering when you'd get here. I've heard a lot about you. It's going to be a pleasure to battle with you. Let's do it. Whitney took out her first Pokeball. I choose you, Stuntler. Ranma took out his Pokedex and pointed at the deer Pokemon. *STANDLR, the deer Pokemon. These Pokemon normally travel in large herds. Its antlers let off sweet-smelling odors that can be used to confuse its opponents. It specializes in hypnotic attacks, but its stomp is also powerful. Okay, let's try this one. Ranma tossed out his first Pokemon. The Pokeball opened up to reveal Bruiser. Makuk. Whitney nodded. Good choice. A fighting-type Pokemon. STANDLR. Hypnosis. The deer let off a grunt as it glared at Bruiser and let loose with hypnotic waves. Bruiser. Cover your eyes. The Makuk nodded and shut his eyes tight, evading the hypnotic attack. Not bad, Ranma, but your Pokemon can't attack what it can't see. Whitney commented. STANDLR. Stomp. The Pokemon charged at Bruiser while still emitting hypnotic waves. It readied its hooves to dish out some damage. However, Bruiser had trained with Ranma and Sea Storm for just such a situation. The martial arts Pokemon waited for his opponent to get in closer, then raised his arms to block the forelegs of the Stunkler, trapping them in their powerful grip. Okay, show that Stunkler why I named you Bruiser. Makuk. Wham! 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 Whitney winced as her Pokemon was slammed repeatedly to the floor of the gym. Large cracks began to form in the floorboards. Bruiser had the advantage in overall brute strength and her Stunkler wasn't sweet for grappling. Bruiser then spun the Stunkler over his head before ending with a seismic toss. Stunkler, are you alright? Whitney ran to her battered Pokemon. The Stunkler gave a weak nod before fainting. You did your best, Stunkler. You deserve a good rest. After recalling it into its Pokemon, she stood back up and faced her opponent. That Makuk of yours is tough, but let's see if he can handle this. With these words, she threw out her second Pokeball. Clefairy. Huh? Ranma looked at the cute and fluffy Pokemon as it began waving its index fingers out in front of it. Clefairy. 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 Look out, Ranma. Sam called out. It's using its metronome attack. What's that? It's totally unpredictable. Any kind of attack, water, ice, fire, wind, psychic or physical can come out. A few seconds later, the Clefairy's arms glowed with a blue light and Ranma's Makuk was suddenly frozen. All right. Great disable attack, Clefairy. Whitney applauded. Now use your hypnosis attack. Like the Stunkler, the Clefairy let loose with hypnotic waves. This time, however, Bruiser wasn't able to avoid it with all of his muscles paralyzed, including the muscles to his eyelids. In a heartbeat, he fell backward and went to sleep. Makuk is unable to battle, the referee said. Ranma could only shrug as he recalled Bruiser. Okay. That was different. But I can see an obvious flaw in that metronome attack. He considered sending in Wind Rider, but decided against it as the gym was just too confined for the big Pokemon. He then gestured to Raiden. You're up, buddy. Pikachu. Raiden came forward and took a ready stance. Hypnosis attack. Whitney cried out. Clefairy did just that, but Raiden simply countered by sliding his headband down over his eyes. Metronome attack. Once again, the Clefairy began waving its arms. However, that was when Ranma demonstrated the attack's fatal flaw. Raiden. Knock it out. By using his sensitive ears to pinpoint the sound of Clefairy's voice, the electric Pokemon rushed up to it and began slapping its face. Pika. 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 Clefairy fell backward in a daze after receiving 10 double slap attacks. Whitney had a huge sweat drop behind her head as Raid declared Ranma's Pikachu to be the winner. Ranma stifled a snicker. That metronome is cute, Whitney. But it's got a really slow startup. Your Clefairy's too vulnerable while it's powering up for that attack. I see. Whitney had to admit, Ranma was right about that one. After recalling her Clefairy, she then took out her third and final Pokeball. Ranma and Raiden tensed up. If what they heard from Ash was true, then her third Pokemon would be, I choose you. Miltank. Bingo. Ranma considered the cow Pokemon. Despite its gentle-looking demeanor, he could see that it had some serious power and weight. Bruiser could have taken it, but he was still out like a light. Well, it was time to see if this Miltank was as tough as Ash said it was. Miltank. Use your roll-out attack. The larger Pokemon curled up into a ball and hurtled toward Ranma's Pikachu like a boulder in an avalanche. The entire floor rumbled as the Pokemon rolled toward Raiden. Raiden. Evade. The mouse Pokemon used his agility and speed to dodge the first few passes, but when he let loose with a few shock attacks, he was very surprised to see Miltank shrug off the blasts. You'll have to do better than that, Whitney said with pride. Miltank's last opponent was a Pikachu and we've been training to resist against electric attacks. Impressive. Ranma saw that she had trained her Pokemon in much the same way that he had trained Razor and his Buzz of Barrage attack. Raiden. Anything goes. The electric rodent nodded as he stood his ground and began focusing his energy. He would only one chance at this. As Miltank rolled toward him, he focused on the spot in which he would strike. When he was about to be run over, the mouse shot forward and hit with a key-energized fist at the floor. The resulting explosion caused Miltank to be propelled upward. Whitney gasped as she saw her Pokemon go flying. She knew that once Miltank was in the air, it was at a serious disadvantage. However, her Pokemon had learned from its earlier encounter with Ash's Pikachu. As Raiden jumped up to finish the job, Miltank threw itself into a counter spin, coming right back down at Ranma's Pikachu. This sudden reversal caught Raiden by surprise. The Miltank slammed into its opponent and sent him flying back down. Raiden hit the floor hard and before he could recover, Miltank came down on top of him. It was like having a sumo wrestler landing on him. WHOMP. Raiden. The cow Pokemon eased off Raiden after delivering an aerial body slam. Good job, Miltank. Whitney cheered. You had me worried there, Miltank. Ranma quickly ran up to his Pokemon and cradled him in his arms. Are you alright? It's alright, Raiden. You can't win them all. It's time for you to rest. Ranma then walked back to his side and gently handed Raiden to Sam. Giving her a nod, he faced off against the gym leader while taking out another Pokeball. We're tied now, Ranma, Whitney called out. And this Pokemon is going to win, Ranma declared. Go, Razor. Just as he was about to throw out the Pokeball, a large explosion was heard as one of the walls of the gym was blown out. Prepare for trouble, and make it double. Ranma winced. Them again. This is the first time I've ever had the same Team Rocket in 2 days. Whitney was also in disbelief. You again. To protect the world from devastation. To unite all people within our nation. Will you just cut that out? Ranma shouted in annoyance. Just go away, will ya? I don't have time to kick your butts at the speed of light. Jessie became irritated at being interrupted. Hey! It was rude when you stopped our motto before. At least, let us finish. Ranma snorted. As far as I'm concerned, hearing that stupid motto once was one too many times. Now why don't you two get lost, before I pound you into next year? Ranma's battle aura flared as he prepared to take on his would-be tormentors. Jessie took on a haughty look as she, Meowth and James took a pose at the hole in the wall. Not this time. Yes, James agreed. This time, we've got a new secret weapon. Meowth nodded as he produced a remote control. Not only is it resistant to special attacks, but it's also punch-proof. Activating Cyber Snorlax. As Meowth pressed a large red button, a huge rumbling sound was heard. The ground trembled as everyone present heard something stomping toward the building. The roof was then torn off its foundation as Ranma and the others gasped. The machine was about the size of a 3-story building and resembled a technological Snorlax. It let off a roar as it began reaching toward Miltank. We didn't get your Miltank last time, so we might as well take it now. Meowth declared as he controlled the machine. Not if I can help it. Whitney shouted. Miltank. Use your rollout attack. Miltank. The Pokemon curled up and shot toward the belly of the mechanical monster at full speed. However, the gym leader became shocked as she saw it rebound back without causing any damage. Fa 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 fa. Jessie sneered. Our Cyber Snorlax happens to have a rubberized outer shell that can withstand any impacts. It also has the same reflective coating as our Wonder Weezing did, making it invulnerable to special attacks. The Cyber Snorlax shot forward with an arm and grabbed Miltank in its massive paws. Miltank! Whitney cried out. Ranma gritted his teeth as he couldn't risk firing off a key blast without endangering Miltank. Then he decided that a ground assault would be best as he threw out Razor's Pokeball. Slash! B-U-Z-Z-S-A-W barrage. Cut that thing down to size. The armored mouse curled up into a ball and began spinning furiously with quills extended. Oh, Razor cut up the floor of the gym with ease. He too bounced back after hitting the belly of the Cyber Snorlax. The outer coating was just too pliable for his quills to dig in. Then he too was grabbed by the machine's other paw and held aloft. Razor tried to slash away with his claws, but the weapon simply began applying pressure by closing its fist. The Sandslash didn't have any room to move, nor any leverage to work with. Slash! Sandslash! Fa 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 fa. Jessie and her cohorts chortled. That's two Pokemon for us. Meowth taunted. Now then, you'd better surrender yourself and all your Pokemon, or else. Jessie snapped her fingers and the machine began to squeeze even tighter. Razor. Ranma found himself in a tight spot. He couldn't attack, nor bring out any more Pokemon without endangering Razor and Miltank. Raiden and Bruiser were too injured from battling Whitney's Pokemon. Things looked bleak. Up above, Razor was still struggling to free himself, much to the amusement of Team Rocket. Struggle all you want, pal. Meowth said with a smug grin. There's no way you can get out of this. Slash! Slash! Meowth chuckled as he continued to tease his helpless captive. Oh yeah? And just what are you going to do about it? At this point, the Sandslash's rage hit the boiling point. He was going to slice off that arrogant smile on Meowth's face. His struggles became even more intense and finally, it happened. Razor was suddenly enveloped in a bright nimbus of light as his eyes flared with blue. What's going on? Jessie gasped. You don't suppose? James started out. No way. It can't be. Meowth shook his head in disbelief. Down on the ground Ranma, Whitney and the others were also in a state of shock. Can it be? Jeanette said. Razors. Evolving. Sam declared. Pika. Raiden breathed out. The mouse Pokemon gained about 40% more muscle mass and height. The scales took on a metallic sheen and became more pronounced. The claws became a bit longer. When the light faded away, Razor suddenly burst free from the Cyber Snorlax's grip with unprecedented strength and landed on the ground for all to see. He was now about the size of a graveler and was colored silver gray. His scales were now heavily armored, metal plates, and his quills were like cutlery blades. The scales near his head formed a kind of open-face helmet and his eyes were like sapphires. His claws resembled many-sized blades. He was like a walking Gensu knife shop. Razor evolved into a steel-type Pokemon. I gasped. Ranma held up his Pokedex but *GOKMON species unknown. No data available. At this moment, Meowth was really regretting his earlier words as Razor glared at him. Heh. Go pay pal. Nice new look. About what I said before. Slaves. Slaves. Razor growled as he prepared to attack. Huh? Steel. Slaves. The new Pokemon leapt high, despite its heavier form, and made a downward sweep with his claws, easily slashing through the thick arm of the Cyber Snorlax, cutting Miltank free. Steelsless, eh? Ranma thought as he marveled at Razor's new form. I guess that's what he is now. After freeing Miltank, Ranma's Steelsless then decided to give Team Rocket a proper goodbye. Curling up into a ball, he launched himself at the Cyber Snorlax, spinning 1,000 times faster than ever before. His amplified buzz of barrage ripped through the rubberized outer hull, cutting the machine cleanly in half. Jessie and her team cried out as one half came falling toward them. I guess it's time for us to spout. Meowth squeaked. There was a massive explosion, and guess who was sent blasting off again? A few minutes later. Wow! Look at this. No wonder Razor cut through their machines so easily. Sam exclaimed as she and her friends took a closer look at Ranma's Steelsless. Look at his quills. They're diamond-tipped. Sure enough, the quills had a thin, glittery substance on their edges that resembled tiny crystals. The claws had the same surfaces on their points and edges. I must say that I'm very impressed. Whitney commented. I didn't know that a Sandslash could evolve into a steel type. Ranma shrugged. Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't know either. I guess that bat against Team Rocket must have. Hey! Wait a minute. He snapped his fingers while turning to the gym leader. You still owe me a gym match. Whitney could only smile and nod. I guess I do. And I have a feeling I know which Pokemon you're going to use. Ranma smirked as he addressed Razor. Ready to give that new body of yours a workout? Slaves! Ranma and Whitney once again faced each other off as Miltank and Razor readied themselves. The aide and referee stood by and announced, "We will now conclude the match between challenger Ranma Sodom and gym leader Whitney. Begin. Roll out attack, MILTANK." The cow went into its strongest attack and rumbled toward the Steelsless. However, Razor stood his ground, and when Miltank reached him, he swung with one paw and knocked his opponent off course. Whoa! He didn't even dodge. Jeanette remarked. Now that he's the steel type, Razor's like a walking tank. Sam said. Ranma nodded as he assessed the new power that Razor possessed. Strength and endurance had dramatically increased. He motioned for his Pokemon to attack and noted that the mouse's speed and agility hadn't changed. Apparently, Razor handled his new weight and size with ease. Anything goes, Razor. Slaves! Razor wasted no time and began delivering a barrage of fury swipes at his opponent. With more power and sharper claws, the assault was far more devastating. Even Miltank's thick hide was no protection. Whitney winced as her Pokemon took hits. Its strongest attack was useless against a Steelsless, and Razor clearly had the advantage in close quarters fighting. She then saw her Miltank put into a seismic toss and thrown into the air. Razor leapt up after it, and that was when Miltank began spinning for a counterattack. However, Razor started spinning as well, and when the two Pokémon collided, it was the Steelsless that had the advantage. With his newly armored skin, sharper quills and more RPMs, he overpowered his opponent and sent it crashing down on the floor. Miltank staggered for a moment before finally fainting. Razor landed heavily on the floor and held up his paws in victory. The match was over. Ranma pocketed the plain badge as he and the girls prepared to say goodbye. Jeanette and I had decided to challenge Whitney yet another time, which was fine by her. The gym leader wanted to wait until her Pokémon were fully recovered and her gym was rebuilt. Fortunately, she didn't blame the so-called gym destroyer. That was quite a match, Ranma. You certainly earned that plain badge. I can see how you beat Prima. I've never seen Pokémon quite like yours. Thanks, Ranma said as he and his friends made their final farewells. Maybe we can battle again someday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be a much tougher opponent. You can bet on that. Whitney gave him a wink, which made the other girls uncomfortable. Ranma nodded as he and his friends departed. As they walked toward the outer city limits, the girls then caught sight of some shops that were offering 50% discounts. Ranma could only shake his head as they dragged him toward the stores. No way! Come on, Ranma! All three girls said as they headed toward the establishments. To be continued. Author's notes. Well, that takes care of Johto badge number 3. As for Ranma's new Steelsless, I got the idea after looking at pictures of Skarmory and Steelix, and I figured that a metal version of Razor would be cool. Next episode, we'll be seeing new surprises and such. See you then. Chapter 19 Chapter 17 Goodbye and hello tease. Fist of the Pikachu. Disclaimer, did I do that? Thoughts. Chapter 17 Goodbye and hello. Ranma, are you coming? Sam called as she and the other girls were preparing to leave Goldenrod City. After Ia and Jeanette had each challenged and won the plain badge, the group was all set to head off toward the next gym. Just a minute, Ranma replied as he turned back to the vidphone. On the other end, Professor Oak was more than excited after being informed that Ranma had another new species of Pokémon. He had been expecting Ranma to send over his pigeon, but was quite surprised to be told that another of the martial artist's Pokémon had evolved. *STELSLIC, the mouse Pokemon. The evolved form of SA and ESLASH. STELSLIC is a steel-type Pokemon with heavily armored scales, and diamond-tipped claws and quills. Amazing! The Pokemon researcher exclaimed as Ranma put away his updated Pokédex. Razor was currently standing beside his trainer while Raiden was perched on his shoulder. On the other end of the line, Tracy was busy sketching away as Ranma and Oak continued to talk. Well, Ranma, I must say that I'm more than impressed, Oak remarked. Now I'm hoping that you'll send me both Wind Rider and Razor. Just think of what kind of research I could do. Yeah, well, you might be seeing Wind Rider soon, Ranma admitted. He's just too big to keep in a city and he likes wide open spaces. I kind of like traveling along the ground with Wildfire anyway. By the way, Professor Oak, I was wondering. Yes? Well, I was wondering if you still had that water stone. You know, the one that you used to cure my little problem. Ranma held up the broken remnants of his water stone pendant. I got into a little accident. Oh. The Pokemon researcher nodded in understanding. I see. I would be more than happy to send you another fragment. If I had one left. What do you mean? I'm sorry to say that I used that water stone in my research. It was used to evolve a story into a Starmie, so it doesn't work anymore. It would take me several days for a new water stone to be delivered, and they're quite expensive. That's okay, Professor. Ranma let off a sigh. I guess I'll just have to get one on my own. In any case, I'm heading off to Ecrutech City, so I'll call you later. Take care, Ranma. Later. Ranma and his friends were racing along as they made their way toward the next gym. Ranma and Jeanette were on their way to dashes, while Sam and IA were soaring high on Sam's hero. As he raced along on his flame horse's back, Ranma began considering what strategies he could use against the next gym leader. According to what Sam had told him, Morty was an expert with ghost-type Pokemon. The only Pokemon that Ranma knew of that had an advantage against such Pokemon were psychic types. Well, I suppose Sea-Storm would be a logical choice. This might be tricky since ghost Pokemon are mostly immune to physical attacks. All of my Pokemon are specifically trained in the martial arts. Maybe key attacks might work. As the group continued on their way through a narrow gorge, they were unaware of the danger that lay just up ahead. Prepare for trouble. Because we're going to burst your bubble and reduce you to rubble. Guess who? Fist of the Pikachu. Side Story 1, Wandering Wild Story, Fist of the Pikachu. Side Story 1, Wandering Wild Story link, https://www.fanfictaion.net/s/502736/1/category, Pokemon plus Ranma crossover genre, adventure author, Tungmyana link. https://www.fanfictaion.net/u/7890/last updated, August 3rd 2000 words, 4333 rating, key status, in progress content, Chapter 1 to 1 of 1 chapters source, fanfictaion.net summary, Wildfire's story about how he came to know Ranma. Chapter 1 Fist of the Pikachu. Side Story 1, Wandering Wildfire. Email this page to a friend. Tell me when this page is updated. Wandering Wildfire, a Fist of the Pikachu story. Disclaimer: the characters in this story are based on other people's work as well as my own, so let's not talk about suing anyone, okay? Thoughts tilde. Pokemon talk. Oh look. He's adorable. The newly born Tonika shook his head and began focusing his eyes in the direction of the voice. Like all Tonikas, his mane, tail and other areas with hair would not develop into living flame until the second week or so. As of now, he had thin strands of red hairs, which marked where his flames would develop. At the moment, his father and mother, both of them Rapidashes, were now licking off the excess fluid and helping him to stand. Unlike most Pokemon, Rapidashes gave live births, rather than laying eggs. As the newly born horse was shockily testing out its feet, he finally focused in on the female voice and saw Laramie for the first time. The daughter of the Laramie clan and one of the owners of the Big P Ranch smiled as she and her parents watched the newest addition to their Pokemon breeding program begin to take its first steps. Laura only had to take one look at Tonika and she knew right off that he would be a very strong runner. What she would have never imagined is just how fast Tonika would be. 2 weeks later, Laura marveled at the newly lit flames of Tonika as she led the horse to the trough. She had used the first few days to get the trust of the Pokemon and the two had become fast friends. When the red hairs of his mane and tail ignited into flames, Laura already knew that Tonika would not burn her. Having already experienced the flames of her own Tonika, the young girl was more than prepared to help raise this one as well. She seemed to have a natural gift in training horse-type Pokemon and her parents had designated her as the head Tonika and Rapidash handler of the ranch. That's it, Tonika, eat up. You're going to grow up big, strong and fast, just like your parents. Laura stroked the horse's flank as it bent down to feed. 8 weeks after Tonika's birth, Laura's father clicked the stopwatch as Laura and Tonika completed the 10th lap on the ranch's race course. As the rider and mount trotted over to where the man was standing, the owner of the ranch smiled as he said, "Good work, Laura. You and Tonika beat the last run by 8 seconds. Thanks, Papa. But Tonika deserves all the credit. He's getting really fast and I'm really proud at how much he's improved." Laura gave Tonika an affectionate pat on the side of the head as she dismounted. "So, do you think he might be able to compete in the Pokemon Challenge race by next year?" Tonika stomped a hoof in agreement. Like all fire horses, he loved to race. He had heard about this race and was absolutely certain that he could win it. He and Laura had been training hard to improve his speed and endurance and with her as his rider, they couldn't lose. He couldn't wait to show those other Pokemon what a great trainer he had. Laura gave Tonika a sad smile as she slowly shook her head. "Sorry, Tonika, but I'm afraid that you're not ready for something as tough as the Pokemon Challenge. I've already decided that I'll be using my own Tonika. Maybe you'll be ready for the year after next year." When the fire horse heard this news, the eagerness it had previously began to fade and his head started to droop in disappointment. His eyes reflected the sadness at being passed over for another by his trainer. Laura did not notice this change in behavior until she turned the reins over to another handler to take Bonica back to his stall. When she did see the sadness in his eyes, she immediately regretted her earlier words as she watched him being led away. Later that night, Bonica was having a quiet talk with his parents in their stall. Since we don't speak Pokemon or horse language, the following conversation will be translated. Just use your imagination for the neighs, snorts and whinnies. So, how was your run with Laura? Bonica's father asked. Did you beat your old time? His mother asked. Bonica said nothing as he continued to stare off into space. Son? What's wrong? The stallion asked. Speak to us. Is something the matter with you? The mare inquired. Yes, something is wrong. Bonica finally replied. I have an uncaring human for a trainer. What? You mean Laura? The male rapidash said. That single quote has ridiculous! Laura is one of the best trainers that a Pokemon could have! Bonica's mother added. Bonica turned his head with a little anger in his eyes. If she's such a good trainer, then why won't she let me compete in the Pokemon Challenge this year? She won single quote T? Bonica's mother said. Then she thought about it for a moment. That is one tough race. I don't think you're ready for something as intense as that. I am ready! Bonica protested. Laura is probably worried that you might get hurt. The stallion soothed. No, she's not. She just doesn't think that I'm fast enough. She's planning to ride that other Bonica that she raised! Well, he is a bit faster than you and he's run the race before, so he does have more experience. What? Are agreeing with her to ? Calm down, son. There's no need to get so upset. We are just worried about your safety, just as much as we're sure that Laura is to adopt. Bonica's mother remarked. Like all Bonicas and Rapidashes, we have the instinctive desire to race. It's in our blood and we can understand why you want to compete in the Pokemon Challenge. However, Laura is not letting you compete because she's concerned about you getting root, just as we are. The Pokemon Challenge has caused severe injuries to Pokemon before and she doesn't want to put you into any danger. As your trainer, she has to take responsibility for your health and welfare. She's only looking out for your best interests. I have to agree with your mother. Bonica's father said. Laura is the best friend a Bonica or Rapidash could have. Don't worry about it, son. You'll get your chance at the race someday. Bonica was just digesting what his parents had told him when his ears perked up at the sound of someone entering the stables. Laura quietly walked toward the stall where Bonica and his parents were. Hi Bonica. How are you tonight? Laura reached out to pet Bonica on his head. The flames of his mane suddenly flared and the girl just barely managed to pull back her hand before getting burned. The male rapidash snorted angrily at his offspring. Tilda son. Don't be like that! Tilda High Mother also nodded. Tilda, remember son, Laura is your friend. We wouldn't be telling you this if it wasn't true! Tilda Laura was bit on edge at almost being burned, but she gathered up her courage to reach out again. Come on, Bonita, don't be mad with me. I know that you must be angry at me for not letting you ride in the race this year, but I don't want to see you get hurt or worse. You're like part of my family. All of the Bonita that I'd raised her. It would really make me sad if you got hurt because I put you there. Bonita's ears perked up at those words as he looked back to his parents. Tilda, you see son? We told you so. Tilda Bonita's father snorted smugly. Tilda, go on son. Make up with her. Tilda, his mother gestured back to Laura with her head. Bonita looked back to his trainer, then after a tense moment, let his flames die back down to their normal intensity. Laura gave the horse a small smile as she patted his head, then opened the stall door. Come on Bonita, let's get some fresh air. A while later, Bonita and Laura were riding along the wide plains near the Big P Ranch, with the wind whipping past them as they raced along the flat ground. The flame horse's depression soon faded away as he engaged in his favorite pastime. The pure exhilaration he felt in his need for speed made him feel so alive and free. With Laura's legs gripping his sides and leaning forward in a jockey's position, Bonita pushed for even greater speeds. However, his endurance was still not as great as the Bonita that Laura intended to ride in the race, and he was soon tiring out. Eventually, he and Laura stopped on a ridge that overlooked the plains. That was a good ride, Bonita, Laura said as she dismounted. Bonita nodded in agreement as he nuzzled her with the side of his head. Laura smiled as she stroked his head. I really would like to ride you in next year's race, but I don't think you're ready for it yet. You've gotten faster, but you can't keep it up long enough. And I'm pretty sure that Dario would try to cheat. I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want any of the Pokemon I train to get hurt. I love you all too much. Do you understand? Bonita was about to protest, but then thought back to tonight's run. It was a good run, but Laura was right. He was already exhausted from the run after only 10 minutes. The race required more stamina than he had. With a reluctant neigh, he nodded his head in understanding. Thank you, Bonita. I'm glad you and I are friends again. Laura hugged the horse and added, we're going to be friends forever, right? Bonita nodded and snorted in agreement. A minute later, Laura and Bonita were trotting back to the ranch. Later that night, Bonita and the other horses were fast asleep in their stalls when a large truck pulled up silently up to the stables. Several men quietly emerged from the back of the vehicle and crept into the stables with tranquilizer guns and ropes. Bonita was too exhausted from his run with Laura when the thieves struck. He suddenly felt a sharp pain in his side and was out like a light a moment later when the powerful sedative in the dart put him out. The rustlers smirked as they silently began loading up his unconscious body into the truck, along with several others. They were about to load up the sleeping forms of his parents when one of the ranch's hired hands had come along on night watch. The hired hand immediately began sounding the alarm, causing the thieves to drop what they were doing, scamper back to their truck to escape. By the time the entire ranch was awake, the thieves managed to get away with their ill-gotten pony cows, 5 in all, including the one that Laura had ridden. They were securely tied down as the vehicle raced away into the night. Sometime near dawn, the sedative that had kept Tony Calendar wore off and he found himself in some strange truck with 4 other pony cows, who were still unconscious. Noting that he was laying on his side and bound, he immediately assumed that he had been stolen. On the cargo area of the truck, he saw a large letter R painted on the side. Looking out of the back of the truck, he saw that he was far and away from the Big P Ranch. He had no idea where he was, but it was imperative that he and the others had to escape. He tried to use his flames to burn through the ropes, but the bindings were made out of a fireproof material, which made the effort useless. Tony Cow then began gnawing at the nearest rope, hoping to chew through it. With the angle he was at, it was slow progress and he wished that he could evolve into a Rapidash so that he would have a horn to use. As it was, it took him a half hour to chew through the first rope. Finally though, when the sun was just coming up over the horizon, the Flame Horse Pokemon managed to free himself and was just getting up to release the others. That was when the truck hit a huge dip in the road, followed by a large speed bump. Tony Cow was still a little wobbly from the sedative and was thrown back and out of the truck. It was also more unfortunate that the truck had been driving along a steep incline, and Tony Cow went tumbling down the sides. It was just a lucky thing that there was some dense bushes and hedges to break his fall. However, Tony Cow had tumbled down too far from the road and was in too much pain to go after the truck as it sped off into the distance. When he finally managed to get back to his feet, the truck was long gone. He was alone, and lost. Ironically, had Tony Cow remained with the others, he would have been returned to the ranch. The thieves had been caught a day later when they tried to sell their stolen Pokemon. The Big P Ranch had secretly marked each of their horses with a brand on their left hind hoof and it was recognized by the buyer. However, as it was, only 4 of the pony cows were taken back to their home and Laura had become heartbroken when she discovered that the 5th Pokemon was the same one she had ridden the night before. Several months later, Tony Cow was running for his life as a Pokemon trainer with his Taurus chased after him. It had been extremely difficult evading capture as it seemed that this Billy Barton was bound and determined to add him to his collection of Pokemon. Ever since that night when he was stolen, Tony Cow had spent that last few months trying to get back to the ranch. However, 3 weeks ago, he had come across the spoiled rich kid and his friends, who immediately tried to capture him with their Pokeballs. Donika did not like the way they coveted him and had spent the last few days evading their traps and their attempts to awaken him. At present, Billy Bartung was chasing him down and Donika was becoming exhausted at being constantly hunted. He just wanted to go back home to his parents and trainer, Laura. He didn't want Billy to catch him, after seeing how cruelly he treated his own Pokemon. He would not be captured. Unfortunately, Billy and his friends were quite persistent and now they had Donika right where they wanted him. As of now, Billy was chasing Donika into a trap where his two cohorts were waiting with weighted asbestos nets up ahead. When Donika passed by a large boulder, Billy's partners jumped out from behind it and through the nets. Donika found himself entangled and went down. He became despaired and tried to burn his way through the nets, but it was no use. When he saw one of the trainers release a Blastoise, he cried out in fear. Was there no hope? He let off a scream of pain as the Blastoise's water cannons let off dual streams and almost snuffed out his flames completely. Donika knew that this was the end. As Billy was shouting at his partners for their stupidity, Donika saw someone racing toward the scene with a Pikachu on his heels. Hey! Leave that Donika alone! The three boys turned to face the newcomer. Who the heck are you? Billy asked. Butt out, pal. If you know what's good for you. One of his friends said. This is our catch. The third boy said. Donika was wondering who this person was, when his flames died down to almost nothing. That was when he lost consciousness. When darkness claimed him, the last image he saw was the strange big-tailed boy and the Pikachu glowing with an eerie blue light. Some time later, Donika awoke to find itself laying on some soft ground at a campsite. It was also tied down and the boy he had seen was applying some bandages as well as some healing potions to his wounds. As soon as the boy got close to a wound near its mane, Donika's flame flared up a bit. Oh W, the boy said as he received a burn on his hand. He quickly retracted it and doused it with some water from a canteen. Pika. Pika. Pikachu. Tilda. Hey! What was that for? We're only trying to help! Exclamation point. Tilda. Donika looked over and saw the Pikachu with a white headband glaring at him. Yay! Exclamation point. Double quote. Tilda. I don't need your help. Top tilde. Pikachu. Pika. Pika. Tilda. Yeah, just like you didn't need our help with those three boys back there. Top tilde. Donika became silent at the memory, then asked. Tilda. You were the ones that saved me? Question mark. Tilda. Pika. Die. Pikachu. Pika. Tilda. Yes. Ranma and me chased those guys away and brought you here. He's been tending to your wounds. Tilda. Winnie. Tilda. Ranma? Question mark. Tilda. Pikachu. Tilda. He single quote as my trainer. By the way, I'm Raiden. Tilda. Raiden wanted to Ranma, who was rubbing his hand and looking back at the horse with a bit of edginess. Ranma weakly waved to the horse and gave him a small smile. Hi there, Donika. I'm Ranma and I guess you've already met Raiden. Would you mind not doing that again? It's really hard to tend to your injuries without you trying to barbecue me. Donita looked at him with suspicion. After his ordeal with Billy and his friends, not to mention others that had tried to capture him, he was very distrustful of humans in general. The human that he would trust was Laura, and she wasn't here. Ranma sensed the reluctance in Donita and could see it in his eyes. He then said, "Look, if you're worried that I might try to capture you, then you're worried for nothing. I don't want to catch you. I just couldn't leave you here to die. I just tied you down to keep you from thrashing about. I give my word. I won't hurt you or put you in pokeball. Just let me and Raiden help you, and when you're all better, you can go anywhere you like." Donita continued to stare at Ranma suspiciously, then looked back down at Raiden. "Pikachu. Hi, Pikachu. Pikachu. Tilda, he single quotes telling you the truth. He won't try to catch you. Trust him. When Ranma gives you his word, he keeps it. Let us help you." Tilda for a long while, Donita was silent. Ranma thought that he had been given the go-ahead and began applying more of the bandages. However, when he got to the last of Donita's wounds, he had to smear on a large amount of disinfectant, and that caused the horse to react to the stinging solution. "Yow! That smarts!" Ranma yelped as he retracted his arm from Donita's fiery mane and poured more water on the burn. He then said to the horse, "You're not making this any easier, Donita. I told you that I'm only trying to help. I don't wanna catch you." This made Donita even more confused. What kind of trainer is this guy if he doesn't want to catch Pokemon? He looked at Raiden, who sighed a mushroom puff. This was going to be a long night. The next morning, Ranma woke up early and went to check on his patient. After seeing Donita's fire regain more of its luster, he nodded and then noticed something on Donita's left hind hoof. He crouched down and saw a large, stylish peep printed on the hoof. "What is this? Some kind of brand?" Ranma looked over the still sleeping horse. "Do you belong to somebody? If you do, then I definitely can't keep you. Pot may steal, but I don't, not anymore. As soon as you're better, I'm going to let you go to find your honor." The next 10 days, Donita was a bit perplexed as he was being led down a trail by Ranma, the strange boy, and his Pikachu, who had kept by him the whole time, nursing him back to health. They had shared their food, medicine, and kept him warm as his flames were given back their intensity. Throughout his convalescence, Donita began comparing this Ranma person to Laura. He was a bit on the crude side and rough around the edges. However, he had a good heart and kept his word about not trying to put him in a pokeball. He was kind, honorable, and was patient with him, enduring several more burns in the process. Now he was going to fulfill his promise and set him free. However, the thought of being freed wasn't as appealing as it had been 10 days ago. Donita had gotten used to Ranma and Raiden's company. He liked the both of them. Traveling without a trainer had been lonely, and there was always a chance that Billy or some other person like him would try to capture the flame horse again. It was very unlikely that he would find Laura again soon, and this Ranma seemed to be his best bet to surviving out in the world. It was just as Ranma was removing the bridle that Donika made a decision. "Go. You are free," Ranma said as he plonked off into the distance. "Why? I'm not leaving my trainer," Donika thought. "Didn't you hear me? I said you're free." Donika did the opposite and nuzzled him. "Nay. I single quote am not leaving my new trainer. Raiden smiled. "Welcome aboard, Donika." Ranma was trying to push Donika away as he leaned to get at his pokeballs, when they were interrupted by some laughter and some familiar figures. Donika became disgusted as he recognized the voices of Billy and his friends. His eyes glowed red as he tensed up and watched Ranma face off against those bullies. He didn't want his new trainer getting hurt, and when a Pidgey suddenly flew down and created a dust storm, Donika saw his chance and swept up Ranma and Raiden onto his back and galloped off. It didn't take long for those three boys to recover as Billy sent his Taurus after him. Donika began to go faster as soon as he heard the rumbling hoofs of the bull after him. He ignored Ranma's orders to stop, but was happy to oblige when Ranma saw what was chasing them. On second thought, don't slow down. Get up. Faster. Faster. After putting on an extra buzzword of speed, Donika saw that their path was leading them straight toward a wide ravine. He couldn't risk stopping with an angry Taurus after him, so he made the decision to jump the span. He began focusing all he had into gaining enough speed, and that when he felt his body begin to tingle and get hotter. He wondered what was happening, but put that thought aside as he concentrated on the task ahead. He then gave off a whinny and jumped. When the fire horse landed on the other side of the ravine, he was a bit puzzled. "That's funny. I thought the ravine was wider than that." He decided to think about it later, after he and his new friends was far away from Billy. He didn't notice that he had just evolved into a Rapidash. Sometime later, just before Ranma arrived at Viridian City, the Rapidash was feeling proud of himself right now. Not only had he evolved, but now he was going to see the world, and with his new trainer, the horse was certain that he was in good hands. "You know, I should give you and Pidgey names, just like Raiden," Ranma said as he rode his new Rapidash toward Viridian City. Raiden was riding on his pack. "Nay. Name question mark Ranma thought for a moment and then snapped his fingers. "Hey! How about calling you Wildfire? Winnie." Wildfire question mark Ranma then looked up to where Pidgey was flying overhead and then called up to it. "And I'll call you Wind Rider. So how about it? Wildfire. Not bad. I like it." The Pidgey above also nodded to its new name as he flew down and settled down on one of his shoulders. The group then came up to a ridge that overlooked Viridian City. "Okay, we're here. Wildfire, Wind Rider, Raiden, Are you ready? The Pokemon all gave their heartfelt acknowledgments as Ranma urged his fiery steed down the slope. The end author's notes well, takes care of Wildfire's story and how he came to encounter Ranma. I would like to hear some comments and maybe I might get around to telling the early experiences of Ranma's other Pokemon as well.